brief intro tells you that the movie you are about to see is the actual footage recovered from the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland. Once the
Hey everybody, welcome all you people that use alcohol to help you go to sleep. This is episode 2 of Drunk and Demonic. I'm your host, Jamie, and that's just Peter.
I'm Peter. Thank you for the introduction, my man. It
You're
means
welcome.
a lot. Yeah. It's so nice to be introduced. Sometimes, like it's one of those things like when you're in like a social gathering and you're hanging out with a bunch of people that you don't know, but the people that you're there with know all the other people, and then they don't introduce you to them, and you're like, "Hey, I wish
Peter.
someone would introduce me."
Oh,
yeah. That
welcome
just
all these
happened to
people.
me.
All the people that you don't know. This is Peter, Punctual Pete Daly. He's here with us and always with us.
Always on
all right,
time.
So let's get right to this. Welcome to episode 2 of Drunk and Demonic. If you have never listened to us before, and you probably haven't because it's literally our second episode, we are two dudes that are skirting our way to alcoholism who love to talk about demons and murder and all the other things that everyone talks about on the internet. And so I'm going to give you to Peter, and he's going to kind of break down what we're going to talk about for this main events episode.
All right. Today's main event is going to be, in my opinion, one of the greatest films of all time, let alone horror movies. It's maybe the greatest horror movie that's ever been made. We are covering the Blair Witch Project. Yes, 1999. I'm a young, spry 9-year-old hanging out at my friend Thomas Ford's house. And guess what? His brother's banging on the door saying that the Blair Witch is going to come attack me and give me a wedgie if I go into the woods outside their house. William, I remember.
You didn't have a friend named Tom Ford. That doesn't sound like 1999. That sounds like 1944.
Yes, huh, dude.
Or 1970.
No, Tom Ford, my boy Tom. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but it's been a couple years. But
okay.
Yep, they had this super scary house that was out in the middle of the woods, and I was not old enough to go see this movie when it came out, but his brother was, and he told us all about it, and then proceeded on a sleepover to scare the living shit out of us repeatedly and often.
Just by talking about it?
So anyways, that's what we're covering for the main. No. Like banging on the walls, and then he'd like take our stuff and throw it outside so that we had to go get it, and then his other friends
Pretending
would be outside waiting
Witch.
to ambush us. Yeah, for sure. All that happened.
Awesome.
Yep.
So sounds great. So we're going to get into a few things that we talked about from
a good
last,
older brother.
Oh, he? It sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about our homework from the last podcast. We wanted to talk about, or we watched the movie X, right? Which you said the sequel was a lot different than the first one, correct?
The sequel?
Yeah, X2. You said there was like mutants and stuff in it.
Are you talking about the X-Men?
Oh yeah,
not at all the same movie. No. Big Wolverine fan. Not the same movie. Pearl could fit into the DC. Is it DC or Marvel? I don't know these things.
It's definitely Marvel.
Ask the nerd. That's what this segment's called.
I feel like you do know that's Marvel. All right, so let's talk about
it's one of the. It's Marvel. Okay,
let's talk about X, baby.
I like this movie. Right? No. I like this movie for a few reasons. One, boobs are awesome. Two, it gave me a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe. Yeah,
100%. I feel
it had a
like
super awesome yeah, good throwback style. Had like some good retro film like aura around it, which I really liked. Really brought me back to like that first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and even the second one, which was also very good. I like both of those movies a lot. It just reminded me, like, you're on some like weird abandoned farm with, you know, you and your, I don't know, I guess in the first one they were friends. I don't know how friends they were in X, but
I get so lost from the
they
Texas
knew each
Chainsaw
other
Massacre because there's
quite
so
well.
many remakes.
Yeah, like 1,000, and
Well,
also
I think
like
everyone was just there to make a porn movie. They never really talked about the fact that if they knew each other or not. Other than like, I'm pretty sure Jenna Ortega was the only one that they were like clearly showed that she'd never been there before or watched a porn movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: she likes porn movies.
She like them. Like it a
She
lot.
like the porn movie.
But anyways, that's my the things that I like most about that movie specifically were that it had some cool movies in it, as well as the fact that it had like a really cool, I thought it was a good like homage to like those like classic thrasher movies, the classic like
100%.
slasher Jason and Freddy, and like it had just like a good like vibe about it. I wished that the actual slasher people in this case, I don't know if we're doing spoilers or not, but we're definitely ruining this movie for sure.
It's like
for anyone that hasn't seen it. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was like
I didn't even know that.
2022.
I thought it had just come out. Oh.
No, they're like coming out with the third
Dang,
in the trilogy this year.
Oh, so there is an X2.
There will be, but it won't be the
and it
same
has
one
Wolverine in it.
Yeah, there's 3. It's so
Storm.
When they first came out with X, they said that it was going to be a trilogy.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly who wrote it. It was like Lee West or something, and I remember looking at and seeing what other movies he did, but at the time I can't tell you exactly. But yes, Pearl is the prequel, as you were saying, and that will be Mia Goth's or not Mia Goth, the chick that was in X2.
She's the main character,
or in X. She's the main character of X. She will be playing the gross booby lady from X. She'll be playing Pearl.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I found out that Mia Goth is dating Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, okay. That's not surprising. Yeah. She seems weird, so it seems fitting that she date a weirdo too.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why she seems weird, but there's something weird about her.
Also, I found out that blonde chick is from that acapella movie.
Pitch Perfect with John Tucker
Pitch
Must
Perfect,
Die.
Yeah,
that's Brittany Snow, dude. That's my girl, Brittany Snow.
Yeah, do you think those are her real boobs, or do you think that was fake boobs?
Those are real, sure.
You think those were her real boobs? Those weren't stage boobs? Because I heard a thing about how people use stage.
No,
boobs.
they don't
stage butts and stage boobs all the time. That's what I've been told.
Not in the classic slasher.
Not in the classic.
I mean,
but yeah, maybe this one. It's probably like written in someone's contract.
Not in a classic slasher like X.
You're right.
They wouldn't dare.
So, anyways, I thought
those are for real.
It was a great time. The slashing wasn't that much. I thought that one dude was a pussy that started crying a whole bunch because Jenna Ortega decided to have sex in the movie, and they didn't show her boobs. Which I get, whatever. She's probably like 17.
Why didn't they just use this? Why didn't they just use the stage ones or whatever?
Because that would have broke the internet. But I can tell you, I'm
you're
definitely
probably
going to watch Pearl.
What? It would have made.
I'm going to watch Pearl in the next couple of weeks because why not? You know.
I'll do it for you.
Oh, dude, you're so sweet. All right, so I think that's the only thing we had for homework that we were going to watch.
Well, I mean,
did you watch?
I think we should
else?
go. Like, I guess I didn't know if we wanted to talk about like the best scene in the whole movie is definitely when Pearl murders the boyfriend dude, because that is like, I didn't think that there was that much in that movie that I really was like, oh, this is scary or this is gross. But like that one scene where she's just like repeatedly stabbing him
into the throat
is fucking brutal, dude.
I know, it was awesome.
There's a lot of stabby.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much your favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, that was. I mean, like, as far as like from a scary movie standpoint, what like actually like made me it made me not give this movie like a really awful review was literally just the stabbing scene alone carried the movie.
See, I really thought you would love this. Because, like, usually I'll be like, I fucking hated that movie. And you're like, dude, it's a horror movie. What's not to like? Like, it had tits and killing.
I know. So. And we literally had this conversation 100% before, as well as in the first episode, where like, I'm always like, oh, like, I love this movie because I don't like not like horror movies. Now, granted, I it's a horror movie. So I'm like, I'm going to give this like, if I had to give it out of 10, I'd still give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it a 7.
I didn't love it that much. I didn't love it.
Yeah, me neither.
Whereas like most horror movies like automatically start at a 6.
Okay, yeah.
So really it's a 1 out of 5.
Just because it's horror. It's... All right, so 6.5. Okay. Anything else on X that you want to talk about there, Pete?
No, but I am actually interested just to see, because like it does seem like there's some weird time play going on in the movie, and especially since you're saying that, is it Mia Goff?
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff?
No, I don't think it's a relation.
Jared Goff's not in the movie. The Rams. Okay. Oh, no. Right. Okay. Yeah. But anyways, that she's like also gonna play Pearl. I for some reason I like got some like weird like magical thinking type thing where there's gonna be like some like weird play with time that like, oh yeah, this is all kind of happening concurrently, and it's actually the same chick that's like maybe trying to like change her own life or something like that. I don't really know.
That's a good theory. But we also didn't talk about the two old people fucking, which that was weird as shit.
Yeah, that was a gross.
That's the first time I've seen like full on grandma tits and just like, what if I have a heart attack?
Well, those are probably those are probably studio.
Those are
probably stage tits.
Whatever.
They probably weren't even real. So don't even like think that much about it.
Hey, there are Britney Snow's tits, dude. I promise. I would never take that away from you.
I promise you that. Yeah,
you drinking a Smasher, dude?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I got smashed.
You getting smashed right now?
New Belgium fruit smash. Oh, I was just looking at it but not showing it. Right? We got the tropical citrus punch.
Ooh, as well as we got some. Just kidding. That's the worst.
Some Michter's still.
Go nice.
Yeah, it's just the only ones that are left. So,
yep. I feel that. I got the unofficial sponsor of the podcast is Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Wow, dude. PBR.
It won an award in 1844, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
When Pearl was like a wee lass, PBR, she enjoyed one at the county fair at the age of 9.
Well, I got so pissed off they raised the price of Modelo by like $3 or $4, and I was like, I'm not fucking paying that, dude. So I just bought PBR.
Deal, yeah.
Like $18.99 for a 12.
If it ain't broke,
this is the life I live in. Exactly.
You said it already a couple times. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Or put some duct tape on it.
I do also want to tell you, I cheated and watched something else that I wanted to talk to you about.
Tell me. You didn't tell me we were going to cover this, so.
No, I'm just going to tell you about it, and it's going to give you suspense to watch it.
Okay.
So it's on HBO Max or Max, whatever it's called. And it's a 4-part documentary.
I don't know what it's called anymore.
Yeah, me neither. It's called What I Know About Jim, or something about Jim. Let me see. The Truth About Jim.
Okay.
And it's this lady like dissects her grandfather or great grandfather and like goes through his entire life and maybe pins him into being some sort of murderer of the 70s.
So not literally dissects.
No, she doesn't kill him. She dissects like what he did. He's already dead. He died. But basically,
well, this
he
is
was a
kind of
fucking
like
rapist. He was a misogynist, and then she may have figured out that he was some sort of murderer from in San Francisco in the early 70s. So
that's cool. I'm definitely gonna check that out. That sounds awesome.
I don't know if there were any murderers
have,
in the 70s in San Francisco. So
not in the 70s.
Not that I can think of in California.
Not in 070 AD.
None,
because there weren't many people in San Francisco at that. Yeah,
right. None that had like cryptic letters or anything like that they sent
in the 70s, as in 70 AD. There weren't many serial killers.
Yes, there were. We're
in San Francisco at the time. In San Francisco,
all of them pretty much Washington and county. Everything about NorCal and Pacific Northwest just murders.
You're talking about the 1970s. I'm talking about the 070s.
Why are you talking about the 070s?
Because I'm trying to make a point that there probably weren't many. There probably weren't many serial killers in San Francisco that didn't exist yet.
Oh, that's fucking
070 AD.
You're being stupid. This isn't about 070 AD.
And I'm being a little silly little goose, dude. Being not a little wizard over here.
Being a naughty little wizard. All right. So, we usually want to talk about something.
Jamie, tell me something that scared you.
Something that scared me? Nothing, because I'm not scared of anything. I spent most of my time instead of looking at like current stuff, because I like to look for shit that's happening in the world right now that's like either zombies or whatever weird shit's on in the world. But I spent most of my time looking up shit in Asheville, North Carolina, where I live right now, because you are coming to visit me next week. Is this true?
As of now, my plans change a lot.
Yeah. So at first
I'm just kidding. I'll be there.
Yeah. Either way, I'm going to do this regardless if you're not there. So we're going to do the haunted bus drive or whatever, right? So then I decided to go into.
I like buses for sure.
I started dissecting like all the shit that's happened in Asheville that's like known haunted places. And there's a shit ton. Like a lot of them are boarded off or like you can't really get there. I did find something outside of Charlotte that's called the Devil's Den, that is just like a campsite that just has a circle, like a black circle that's been there forever. And apparently if you sleep there, the demon or the devil comes to you in your dreams and tells you to kill people. But it's too far to go to, so we're not going to do that. But
okay.
I did find there is a very famous haunted bridge in Asheville, and it's a mile away from my house, and it's called the Zealandia Bridge because it is the bridge that you cross to go to the Zealandia Mansion, which is a mansion that was built in the 1920s. And if you don't know anything about Asheville, in the early 1900s, that's what people wanted to do. They just wanted to build like mansions because the Vanderpumps family, or the Vander something, not the Vanderpump Rules people, are like
Vanderbilts.
The Vanderbilts.
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't realize the Vanderpumps were so historic in the U.S.
No,
I've never seen the show though.
The Vanderpump Rules was on the TV before I started this podcast today. Not because of me, because of Avery. But the Vanderbilts built the biggest mansion that, like, in the United States at the time, and it's in Asheville. You can still come and visit it. It's called the Biltmore House, but I think it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask if this is the one you were talking about.
No, it's like $90 to go visit this house. This is the one I told you about the conspiracy with the kids in the pool.
Oh yeah,
in the basement.
I was gonna ask if this is the one that you've been telling me all about. Hillary Clinton's been there a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a different one.
Yeah, so I'm just telling you that in Asheville in the 1920s, rich people flexed by building these mansions. So this guy Zealandia built a mansion and called it after himself. And his wife hung herself from this bridge because her daughter got caught or got killed in a fire at this mansion. So now, the folklore or the rumor is this lady appears at this bridge. And if you go to the bridge at night and you say her name 3 times, which I think that might be bullshit because it might just be like Carrie or Candyman, Bloody Mary.
Yeah, what's her name?
If you say her name, it's Helen. So if you go to Helen's bridge and say Helen's name 3 times, she appears. There's a shit ton of reports saying that people's batteries have died driving under this bridge. So if you drive your car under it, it just fucking stops. And one of my coworkers actually
it's a big
told
ass
me
bridge.
That no, not really, not at all.
Okay.
But it's still like operable when people drive under it. So I say we go to said bridge and film it.
Okay.
It's so close to my house.
Deal.
So we're just going to take a GoPro. We're going to walk to the bridge. And we're going to say Helen's name 3 times. I'm not going to drive because I don't need.
If one of us dies, at least it's on camera. I'm already scared. I didn't really have much to talk about in this section, and now I literally have something to talk about. Do you want me to do my section now?
No, hold on. I have been going through a rabbit hole of people GoProing themselves at this bridge. Might I tell you, it's very entertaining. People like this one guy was like, "Hello, Helen, it's me, George. I'm here. Come out and scare me.
Come on,
come out and scare me, Helen. I'm here.
Come on."
But yes, there are reports.
That's only 2. He needs to say it again.
Helen,
I'm just kidding.
It's me, George. Come scare me. I got my YouTube followers here. Okay, so yeah, that's what I want to do. We're going to do that haunted pub crawl.
Man.
And then when everyone's asleep, we're going to go walk to this bridge.
Oh, so we're going to get all liquored up first and then go do this?
Fuck yeah, dude. Why would we not?
Oh, man. Hell yeah.
I wish I had my my EMP regulators or whatever they call them.
Yeah, why don't we take it?
Those already.
Oh, because you don't have it.
Yeah, my sister hasn't sent them.
Which sister is it?
Lexi. She lives in Florida.
Lexi.
Shout out to Lexi.
Get on it. I mean, like, shout out, but like, also shout out. Like, maybe you should send it to Jamie so that we can record ghosts. I don't know what you're using it for, but I guarantee you, you're not using it to literally go to ghost places and try to find them.
She did. She went to a place that's famous in Virginia for ghosts. Yeah, she did it with the EMP, and it like literally scared her so far beyond belief that she's like, "I'm never fucking doing this again." Like her door shut, like slammed in a cemetery and shit.
Oh, I want it.
Well, I know, me too. All right, so what scared you, Pete? You said this triggered you into talking about something that scared you.
Oh, no, I was literally going to say that this thing that you're planning scares me.
I know, right? I was going to go by myself.
What?
We don't have to do it. We can just tell her. We can just tell her.
I'm in. I can't wait to get all spooky scared.
Also, I found out that there is a year-round haunted house at Gatlinburg we can go to.
Yeah, right? Like, why are there not year-round haunted houses? It's not like the ghosts go into fucking.
There's one.
They're not like
in Orlando too.
Birds
there's one
where they like
Gatlinburg.
fly south for the winter.
No, well, because most people aren't fucked up like us and just want to be scared and see demons all the time. They like to do it in Halloween and Halloween time only.
I disagree with that. I think that there's plenty of people that want to see ghosts all the time.
There are, but
they're going to be the people that listen to this.
Exactly.
They're the people that want to listen to our podcast.
The people like those fucking cowards better go to that bridge. I tell you what, I'm gonna go, dude.
Oh no, you can stay. You guys are gonna see it.
Stay home with the kids, dude. I'm gonna fucking go to that bridge, and if I die, I die, dude.
Yep.
I'll be there with
as
Helen.
long as we get 10,000 followers by next week. We'll post it. No, we're going to
They're
post it
change
either
the
way.
name
I'm
of
just
that-
kidding.
They're gonna change the name of that bridge to Helen and Jamie's Bridge because I'm gonna die there, and I'm gonna
Jamie's
and
Bridge.
I'm gonna show up at that damn bridge and scare people, and they're gonna say my name 3 times.
It's just going to be some dude that like kind of stumbles out and like looks at you, and then he just like
Ugh.
keeps kind of walking, and then he's like, "Oh, what's up, dude? For sharks." And then just keep on
What's up?
walking.
That's exactly what's going.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
For sharks.
So that's all I really had to bring to the table this evening. So
Word. I don't have a whole lot of like legitimately spooky things. People keep telling me that there's spooky stuff here in Steamboat. I just don't believe it. I've lived here my whole
I looked
life.
at it.
I've never seen anything spooky happen.
I'm sure there's haunted shit. That museum.
That's not true.
behind
When I was
Backdoor
like
is
a
haunted.
kid. Oh yeah, for sure. The Tread of Pioneers is definitely haunted. There's a lot of artifacts in there. When I was a kid, I'd have like some like sleep
haunted
paralysis type
artifacts?
stuff.
What?
Yes, haunted artifacts.
Let's
But
go
yeah,
back to the.
other than
you had
that, like-
you. Okay, you want to talk about when you were a child?
You can
and
try
couldn't-
again if you
couldn't
want.
sleep? I can't talk right now. I don't
Sleep
want to. Let's just-
paralysis.
So we're done
So I
here,
had some,
right?
I definitely
so
had some things. There was also like I distinctly remember. This isn't anything that's new that's haunting me recently, but I'll just say it anyways. When I was a kid, we had this like. It was in our house. We had downstairs, and then on downstairs, all the drywall was obviously white, but then there was just for whatever reason like this like stripe of red, and it was just a paintbrush, but it looked like it was like blood red, and it went up the wall and then across the ceiling, right? And it came out from the laundry room.
Okay.
And like looking back now, obviously it's probably like a water line or something like that. But
Yeah, probably.
when I was a kid, I
Scared you?
believed because one of my friends told me that it was the washing machine monster.
The washing
Because
machine monster's
inside our
scary.
washing, like we had like a laundry room, and like
Mhm.
for whatever reason, like 2 little orange dots would light up when the washing machine was running, and that was it. And they looked like they were far enough apart
Oh.
and like close enough apart to like definitely be eyeballs. And literally
Okay.
every single time from like honestly the age, I think we moved into this house when I was like 3 or 4 until like
Okay.
7 or 10 or something like that. I would literally sprint up the stairs. I would not look behind me. I would literally, as soon as I rounded the corner where I couldn't see the washing machine, like the washroom anymore, I would literally sprint as fast as possible up those stairs because I thought that the washing machine monster was going to get me if I didn't run
that makes
fast enough.
sense, dude. If I was 7 or 10, I would probably be scared of that too. And a lot of times,
Yeah,
as a
for
kid, I
sure.
would just run
Absolutely
from
terrifying.
things. So what?
But
made
yeah, it
you
was
think of
really
this?
weird. There was just like this
You're
weird.
just like, oh yeah, nothing scared me this week. But back when I was 7 or 10,
I thought we were,
I had the washing machine monster. Sure, dude.
you know, we're talking about
it's our podcast. So
traumas
we can talk about
and
whatever the hell
things,
we want to.
things that are going to scare us for the rest of our lives and stuff like that. You know, like going to a bridge where there's ghosts and stuff like that. Like this could just be another one of those stories that like falls right in with the washing machine monster where fucking Helen comes
So we're
out
gonna-
and she, you know,
Yeah, so we're
We're
gonna
going.
go to your childhood house with the GoPro and go find the washing machine monster. Is what you're saying?
it's probably an updated washing machine that probably doesn't have the same lights. I think we
It's
should
probably
bail.
not the same one. Okay, I'm just curious.
I think we
That's-
should bail.
Okay,
The red
Well,
line
what do you
could
think?
still be there though, and that'd be crazy.
that would. What do you think? You think we should start talking about going to the main event? We have anything else we want to go into?
I think it's time for a story.
It's time for Petey Tell's story. Let's hear it, buddy.
Yep. All right. You ready?
I'm ready, dude. Fucking
All right.
born ready, dog.
We'll do a
Not
quick
really.
one of these. Do a quick one of these first. You got anything like that? No, you just got PBR.
Cheers. Yeah, I'm limiting myself to one glass
Oh, I didn't
of
see
whiskey
that.
because
Yeah, that's fair. We've recorded this episode like 3 times.
no, this is the second time recording it, but I was so fucking drunk that I couldn't even talk. and it was just too embarrassing to edit. So I like pulled the wild card. I'm like, I can't put this, Peter. Like, I know this show is called Drunk and Demonic, but I was like,
it's too much.
Yeah, it was too much. I think you were drunk too, and you just didn't realize.
Oh,
or you
absolutely.
were just that into the story.
No, I definitely I was both. I was drunk, but I also was. You were so drunk that I was able to realize that you were drunk. And I had no problem.
Like,
I didn't even really get to that point in the episode.
What?
I just knew how drunk you were.
You're like, what? I'm like, what happened? You're like, dude, you're fucking hammered. I don't know.
Well, and it's that's why full transparency with our listeners here. We also I literally wrote an entire outline for this episode that was completely scrapped for this. I've completely rewritten it. But I wrote a whole outline for it, and then definitely, for whatever reason, lost it. So we just went completely without an outline for 40 minutes or so, talking about the Blair Witch Project, and that's usually I don't know. We don't do enough podcasts to know if that's a good idea or not, but now we have, and it's a bad idea.
See, you're blaming yourself. I'm pretty sure it was just the fact that I couldn't talk.
Hey, man, don't put this on you.
All right, so
it's not your fault.
What? Let's get into this. Let's really fucking nail this one, dude. Second time's a charm is what they say. So,
all right.
Without further ado,
you ready?
I give you Peter.
It is the year of our Lord 1999. In the quiet little town of Park City, Utah, a random stranger approaches you outside of a busy pizza shop and hands you a flyer. You take it so as not to be rude and have a quick glance. The flyer features 3 kids in their mid-20s, and in large writing, the word missing is at the top. After looking over the piece of paper another few seconds, you fold it up and stuff it in your pocket. Later that evening, you are seated in a dark theater and a movie starts to roll. A brief intro tells you that the movie you are about to see is the actual footage recovered from the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland. Once the film begins to roll, you recognize the faces on the screen, but you aren't sure where from. And then it dawns on you. These are the kids from the flyer. Welcome to the Blair Witch Project. Can you cue the clapping sounds?
Why? What the fuck? Are you still hung up on the 070 AD? You're like, let me talk like an old Tommy. Was that fucking wrong?
Yeah,
Ronnie
dude.
James
You didn't think that was badass?
I thought it made.
Would you like to have Ronnie James? If you were gonna have someone tell you about the Blair Witch Project, wouldn't it be Ronnie James Dio?
Yeah, probably. Touche. All right.
Word.
Are you gonna do this whole
welcome.
entire episode like this? I can't breathe.
No. Now that wasn't. That was suspenseful, Pete.
Picture yourself on a boat.
That was picturesque, Pete.
With tangerine trees and marmalade
skies.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. So it's the year 1999. That's a heck.
Yeah.
And we're in Park City.
So, yep.
Hold on.
No, but here we go. All right, guys.
I need to come back to where we're at. We're in Park City in 1999, right? Someone hands me a flyer for the movie I'm about to watch at Sundance. Correct?
No. You don't know it. You don't know it's for the movie.
Oh, so I'm handed a flyer. It's
just a missing persons flyer.
But I'm heading to the movie. It ends up being the movie I'm going to go watch.
Yeah, so we set the scene of so we'll get into this later, But like the marketing campaign that went on with the Blair Witch Project, particularly at the Sundance movie premiere, which is what I was referencing there. 1999, Park City is where Sundance Film Festival takes
I wanted
place.
you to get me up to speed. Go on. Never mind. I get it.
Yeah.
Tell me your story, sir. Okay, so we're in Park City. Someone hands me a flyer.
Yep.
For a missing person. All right.
Yep. And you see it and you're like, okay, weird. You look at it, you catch there's 3 different people on it. You're like, okay, weird. Okay. You go back into the bar where your friends are, or the pizza place, and you're like, man, I would really like another beer, but they're like, oh, too bad, you can only have one because it's Utah.
I get
so
that.
Then you go to a midnight premiere for a horror movie, and all of a sudden, like, you see these 3 characters that are on screen, and you're like, huh, those people, like, why do I recognize those people? And then it dawns on you that the 3 people that you're seeing on screen are the 3 people from the flyer that you were handed for lunch outside of the pizza shop with the missing person's flyer.
Yeah. Fucking brilliant.
Yep.
Unless they were actually missing.
So anyways.
And then you watched them get murdered on a movie.
Yep. It was potentially a thing that people thought happened.
I'm sure.
So anyways, today we venture deep into the woods of the Blair Witch Project. We're going to cover the making of, the story told within, and the impact of, like, one of my favorite films of all time, like we talked about earlier. Particularly horror, but like literally of all time. Super revolutionary, and like changed the way that not just movies are marketed, but marketing is done in general. This was like the birthplace of the internet. It was pretty much around when this came out. Kind of the transitional point from it being like early 90s. Everyone, like, people had internet. Some people had internet. Mid 90s, most people were starting to get internet. By the late 90s, when this movie's coming out, everyone's for the most part able to get access to the internet, but you're not like able to pour through websites that are debunking things, or you're finding information about specifically for this movie, like who these actors are. Like, there aren't these databases that have been uploaded into the internet yet that like are going to tell you like who Heather Donahue is and where she's been lately. And she just appeared in a Broadway play 2 months ago, but you like are seeing online that like, oh yeah, apparently she's dead or missing.
No, back then, like, we literally shared one computer that had internet, and it had like the phone line too. So like you couldn't be on the internet at the same time as your mom wanted to talk on the phone. So it was literally like, and there was like 4 websites. It was like Netscape News. So yeah, you couldn't look anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I can see where this would like really fuck up some people.
Yeah,
go on
for sure. And like I mentioned, like earlier in our episode here, like I distinctly remember this movie, not so much because of the actual movie itself, but like I remember living within the, let's call it the phenomena of the Blair Witch Project, of like, it was this movie that was potentially like a snuff film-ish type, like a totally true documentary of these kids that got lost in the woods. And so yeah, yeah, that's why I chose to pick this movie for us to cover as our second episode, because I think that not only is it an incredibly good movie specifically for the time, but it literally changed the way that movies are made and the way that marketing is done in general.
Yeah, makes sense. It was pretty brilliant for its time. Awkward pause.
All right. Sorry. Let's see. So 1999's Blair Witch Project was created by directors Dan Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. Quick kind of run through of what the movie is about. It tells the story of 3 hikers who went to film a documentary about a strange and eerie phenomena in the woods outside of Burkittsville, Maryland. It should be mentioned that this episode is absolutely filled with spoilers. If you haven't seen the Blair Witch Project, that is your fault. It came out over 20 years ago. Also, why are you listening to this episode if you haven't seen it? All right. So end of the movie, the hikers all go missing and they die. The end. Ready to get into this whole story now? That's my
We don't
intro.
know. They don't know that they died.
They're right. You're right. They go missing or die.
That's not the end of the movie. They don't all die. One of them dies, and then two of them might die, and then it ends before we get to know if they die or not. That's the real spoiler.
That's fair. Whoa.
Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks for coming to our episode. Just kidding. Keep going.
Shut the fuck up.
Cue Ronnie James Dio again. No, really, I'm just kidding. Just go back on.
All right. Do you want me to just keep rolling?
Keep going, buddy.
Word. Yeah. So the Blair Witch Project was first conceived in 1993. Dan Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez are the creators. They were film students at the University of Central Florida. I don't know if that's where your sister is near.
Central Florida. Yeah, she's right in Central Florida.
Word. Okay.
That's where they're from, correct?
The movie was born. Yeah. I don't know where University of Central Florida is. Yep. There were film students there.
It's in Tampa.
Is Tampa in Central Florida? Okay.
Kind of.
Well, that's cool.
Right
they
there, yeah.
decided to make this movie out of a fascination that they had with the horror genre. But in the early 90s, they found that horror movies were becoming like really repetitive and stale, becoming less and less scary and more like cookie cutter and predictable. And they found that shows like Unexplained Mysteries were actually scarier than the horror movies that they were watching because they felt real. And that's what made them scary. No one really believed that Jason was tracking them down at the age of like 20. No one believes that Jason's tracking them down or Freddy's going to haunt them in their dreams, stuff like that. But what is scary is,
sent to space.
Yeah. Freddy versus Jason was dope.
It was awesome. No, I was talking about Jason in Space or whatever, Jason X, where they send everyone.
Oh, that is Jason X. It's not Freddy versus Jason.
No, Freddy versus Jason was fucking awesome.
Yeah. I do like the one scene in Jason X, though, when he freezes the dude, he dunks the dude's head in the chemical bath and then smashes it and it just like blows to pieces. That was really cool.
Yeah, I could see where that would be something that a 20-year-old would not believe.
Exactly. So what they decided to do was like take this documentary style of film and just like run with that because they felt that it was so much scarier to see things that felt real to them. Looking back on most folklore and urban legends, it made sense for them to tell this story in the woods. They decided to shoot the movie close enough to Salem and near kind of like the Devil's Triangle, which isn't really that close, but it still has like the general parameters of like being lost in the woods and not knowing exactly what's happening in the world around you. You know, you're lost, but even more so, there's something happening that you like quite can't explain, which is absolutely terrifying.
For sure. 100%.
As far as the script goes, I guess you could call it a script. They wrote like a 40-page outline of what the story was going to be. They had created all of these cool, like, let's call it the lore for the movie that would set the scene, like the stick figures, these characters of Ellie Kedward, Rustin Parr, the Coffin Rock that they stop at the movie. And we're going to get to those things later as we go through the actual movie. All of it. Literally all of it was created. They like didn't take, for the most part, any of like the Coffin Rock, Rustin Parr. The set designer created the stick figures because they approached this guy and said that he had 20 hours to pretty much make a bunch of props. And he was like, well, I don't have any money. This film was also shot on a $60,000 budget. So they literally had, and it doesn't like, it seems like a lot of money, but like as far as a film goes, that's literally nothing. And that 60,000 also includes the reshooting of certain scenes that the production company that ended up buying the movie would have them go back and shoot. So it really sounded like it was closer to 35,000 for the original production. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I was like, damn, they just made them use their own dime to reshoot.
Yeah, no, yeah. So they funded like another like 25 into the movie after they had bought it to try to get especially like a better ending. But yeah. So they created the whole like world that kind of like the Blair Witch would exist within. They did not write a single page or line of dialogue. They wanted this movie to be improvised, and the script gave like the gist of what the conversation would be, but they wanted it to feel real, like in these documentaries that they've seen. So they did not write any script. They wanted these people to be as authentic as possible. So because of like these things that they decided to make this movie a found footage film. We're going to go quick into the history of found footage media. Are you ready?
Okay, sure.
All right. So the first one that we're going to talk about is Cannibal Holocaust. Have you ever seen this?
No. I
caught you on a sip there. That was my bad.
I usually stay away from found footage movies. I thought you
were going to say holocausts, but hey, that's fine too.
I have also dodged the Holocaust because I was too young.
Good for you.
Yeah, I usually stay away from found footage movies because unlike you, they just never appealed to me. I actually had never seen the Blair Witch until you told me to watch it.
I made you watch it. Wow.
No, you're like, let's watch this. I was like, I just never got around to it. It wasn't interesting to me. I was more of the slasher, the ghost movie kind of guy. So no, I have not seen. And it's Cannibal
like not
Holocaust.
I'm intentionally not trying to call you like really old here, but like you are like a couple years older than I was, where like you actually could have gone and seen this movie in theaters when it came out. Like, what were you, like 15 or 14 in 1999?
I was in 1999. I was a freshman, so I'm assuming that's 14, right?
Yeah, dude, you didn't go like catch this movie with Sally down the street?
No, I don't remember.
Use it as an excuse to get all close to your true love?
No, I remember like people talking about it when I was a kid, but I just I never went to it. Sorry, dude. I've also never seen Cannibal Holocaust.
I'm not upset with you about this. Cannibal Holocaust, we're just going to touch on it really, really briefly. It's a movie that came out in 1980. I would call it's like a half documentary or like a half found footage film. The first half is like a standard film with like this camera crew that is both on set of a news station as well as offset. And then the second, they find the footage of these three filmmakers, their friends that were part of this news station that have now gone missing, and they find like what happened to them. The only reason I like really bring this up is one, it's one of the first found footage films that's ever been made. But second, addressing how real people used to, especially like before, I'd call it the rise of the internet and smartphones specifically, where you can access things immediately from your pocket. Mm-hmm. People believed that this movie was real. The director, Ruggiero Deodato, was arrested for murder because the people believed that he had filmed pretty much an actual snuff movie and that all the characters that were in this movie and the found footage part of it were actually dead, and he decided to film that. Did you say the only way that these charges were dropped? Yeah.
Did you say when this came out? Because I didn't hear
1980.
That. Okay, 1980. So go on.
Yep. So the only way that they even dropped these murder charges against him, he had to appear on news, like on a news station, with the actors that were in the movie with him on a live segment. That's like how he had to like prove that like, no, I didn't kill these people and I didn't shoot them either. Like,
that's fucked up.
Yep. it's crazy like how real people thought this was. Like
No, I really
people
wanna
went a
watch
little
this
wild
now.
over. Yeah, I
Have
have
you seen
seen
it?
parts of it, and I've seen the second part of it because it's like the really gruesome, brutal part of it, and it's like gross.
Looks fake as shit.
I'd say
Oh, really?
it doesn't
So it's
look
like-
fake as shit. The
it
people
looks like
dying look a
actual
little
stuff.
fake. They did get into actual trouble because they did actually kill animals on film. They have like a lot of like some goats and stuff like that, and some cows that they like actually murdered. I guess
So
like
Did
slaughtered.
he go to
technically.
jail?
No, because they didn't have really like this is 1980. I don't know if they just didn't have charges for it, but the movie's been looked at like pretty badly since then because of all of that.
Yeah, no shit.
It like
didn't
and they
win- it
like
didn't
full
win an
on
Emmy.
like actually shot. No. In fact, like this dude, I don't know if he ever even made another movie. I think like he was pretty much
guarantee he
like
got
shunned from
blacklisted.
everything. Yeah.
It is my art. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. They also they took a lot of inspiration from that film. They also really referenced the War of the Worlds broadcasts.
Yeah.
Orson Welles, both in the U.S. as well as in Quito, Ecuador. It got like a little bit more crazy where people literally thought that there was actually an attack happening. Whereas in the U.S., people thought it was happening and then just got scared. In Ecuador, they went to the news station once they figured out that it wasn't real because people started like cheating on spouses and burning all their money and like murdering people. And then once they figured out that none of it was actually happening, they went to the radio station where it was being broadcast and just burned the whole thing to the ground. And like 5 people died. It was like a way more serious thing than the actual US one. And it happened like 11 years after the US one. So you think they would have learned, but
like
maybe not.
so this is like Ecuador's version of the War of the Worlds, right?
Yeah. So they redid it, but they cast it way different. Like they had like actual interviews of people that were on it instead of just Orson Welles reading it as George Orwell. Wait, is it Orwell?
Yeah. No, it's Orson Welles.
Yes. He's the one that like read the book.
Orson Welles?
But
I thought
anyways,
he wrote it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's the one that was reading it. I could be wrong.
Either way, we'll figure it out.
Listeners,
it's not George
please
Orwell.
make sure to email us or DM us.
George
We'd love
Orwell
to hear from you
is
about how wrong we are on this.
1984 in Animal
For sure.
Farm.
Yep.
All right.
Correct.
So in Ecuador, they reread War of the Worlds, and then people actually burnt the place down.
Yep.
I remember you telling
A couple
me about
people
this.
died.
And like they
it's
didn't
fucking
warn
nuts.
people,
If you guys,
right?
I would ask people to like go. No, they went through and just kept doing it. Like eventually in the U.S., they stopped and said, "Oh, hey, like sorry, this is just a reading of the book, The War of the Worlds." They did not do that. They made like a whole dramatic like radio drama about this War of the Worlds and like just kept rolling with it to the point where like all this crazy stuff happened. The people that were at the radio studio had to like escape through windows. Some people didn't escape at all, and they were the ones that died. Pretty crazy story. They also got some inspiration from the Legend of Boggy Creek, as well as the aforementioned Unsolved Mysteries.
I love Unsolved Mysteries. Fuck yeah, dog.
Hell yeah, dude. So
Hell yeah.
once they kind of have like their style of movie down, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do a found footage thing. It like seems really scary. They knew that, as we mentioned earlier, they wanted it to be improvisational so that it felt real, these people. Josh Leonard was the first one cast. He did well with the improv, but the main reason he was hired is because he knew how to operate a camera and the boom and stuff like that. So
Best of both worlds.
he was the first one hired, and they were just like, hey, we definitely like, you're an actor and you're like, all right, but for the most part, you know how to run a camera. And that's like the most important part, because as
I
we'll get
respect
to
that.
later, there was not a whole lot of help that they had. Mike and Heather, the other two, were found at the final casting call in New York. They, reflecting on their casting call techniques, as soon as they walked in the room, Some reported that one of the directors asked them why they pushed the woman down the stairs. The other big question that they asked, they said, "You've just served 9 years of a 25-year sentence in prison, but you're up for parole. Why should we let you out?" And Mike,
I didn't fucking kill him.
puts on his best. Exactly. Mike puts on his best Morgan Freeman and Shawshank Redemption impersonation. I don't exactly know, like, it sounds a little cheesy, but Heather, who is
can you
obviously
recreate it?
the best.
Can I hear it? Let me recreate his Morgan Freeman, what he said.
No.
Please. Why would you say that and not bring it?
I can't. Nope.
Nope.
I remember.
Old. I'm gonna die. I'm 70.
I remember Andy Dufresne's.
You should
I remember Andy Dufresne's. I remember Children Away.
That's how.
If you don't let me out, you'll never see the movies.
I'll never get to recreate.
What do you think?
My talking. That's it. I don't think he's gonna get let out. Dog.
If you don't let me out, you'll never learn about the Earth or space.
Wasn't that? I don't think. Probably. I don't know. All right.
He does some narration. I know you're going to say that. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a shit ton of narration. I was thinking
so
of
that
like
was
Neil
Mike.
deGrasse Tyson.
I know that's
the
who you're
Cosmos.
thinking
You're
of.
thinking of the Cosmos. Isn't that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, but Morgan Freeman
does, like,
also did a whole one.
He does like the natural or the geographic ones. He doesn't think he does space ones.
Yeah, I said like the animals and the space ones.
Okay, and the animals and the space. Okay. So let me out of jail.
Heather's response is way better.
Okay, I'm sure.
She simply said, "I don't think you should." And she has this crazy look in her eye. And the directors were like, "Oh, fuck, this chick's crazy. We want her."
Oh, hell yeah.
So, anyways, they've got their three characters. Now Sanchez and Myrick need to go and create this world that all of the story takes place within. The story all starts with Ellie Kedward. She's a local woman who is accused by the town's children of luring them into the woods and draining their blood. She's found guilty and dragged into the woods outside of town and left for dead. However, No. This is in technically Blair at the time, which the name Blair just came from Eduardo Sanchez. His sister went to Blair High School, and he thought that it sounded like a spooky name.
I'm remembering.
No.
Sorry.
Nothing to do with Salem here.
You said something Salem earlier,
They just
and I
took
thought
some inspiration with Salem of like the witch trials.
That's what it
and
was.
things like that. Yeah.
I thought for some reason they filmed it in Salem, and it was part. No, it was okay. See, I've seen it once.
Nope, it all takes place in Maryland. Yeah, no, you're good, dude.
I'll shut up.
So,
and
anyways,
let you talk.
back to the story of Ellie Kedward. She didn't die in the harsh winter. So the children go out into the woods and they find sticks and knives and they slash her a bunch. And then they dip her hands in her blood and then put like their handprints on her body, which is why when you get to the cave or like when you get to the cabin that's in the woods, there's the handprints all over things. It's supposed to be like reminiscent of that. Oh,
I didn't put two and two together.
Well, yeah, but like you don't really know the backstory. This was all part of like this huge like world building experiment that they decided to like, you see a lot of movies and it's just like, oh yeah, this is the movie. And it just takes place within like what you see in front of you. But they decided to take this whole world outside of what was even shown in the movie. And run with that. So
how'd that go for him?
Yep. What's up?
I said, how'd that go for him?
Oh, really well. Yeah, it worked super well. We'll get to that soon.
Okay.
So this story actually has like a little bit of truth to it. In the 17th century, there was this lady called Molly Dyer or Moll Dyer. I don't really know why I would just call her Moll, but whatever. She was accused of witchcraft, chased from her home by the local townsfolk, pitchforks and, flames and shit like that. They lit her house on fire. And she was found several days later, partially frozen to this stone in the center of town I guess I don't think it was in the center of town then, but it's in the center of town now. And that stone is still there today, and there's like a little placard to like remember her by.
Oh,
Kind
sweet.
of a crazy story. The other main
How'd she get
character
frozen?
in
She just
the
left overnight?
mythos. Yeah, she was there for days.
Huh. Okay.
I don't really know.
All
Yeah. The other main character in the mythos of this is Rustin Parr. He's this old curmudgeon that in the 1940s he like rolls into the town of Burkittsville, and claims to have murdered 7 children under the direction of the Blair Witch. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is featured on their website that actually has like court documents and stuff like that showing Rustin Parr and him going to jail and him sentenced. Not only do they have the names of the children who were murdered on the website, but they have the one child who was not murdered who came to tell the story, named Kyle Brody. Kind of a crazy story, but the Rustin Parr story is incredibly in depth. They have like these outside documentation that like make it seem even more real as they like begin to develop this world around the movie. Coffin Rock is another thing that they actually visit in the movie. A lot of this stuff. So they visit Rustin Parr's cabin is assumed where they end up. In the Coffin Rock and the Robin Weaver story, an 8-year-old girl goes missing. There's a search party that is sent out but does not return. When Robin later returns, she's found so a search party is sent out and it doesn't return. Robin comes back. A few weeks later, a second search party goes out and they find the first search party all tied at their arms or their legs, and they're all disemboweled. It's like this really gross scene, but they have all these images and this whole story that like never happened, but it's on the website and it's being populated throughout the internet as this movie's getting built. So with the Blair Witch being laid out, it was time to actually experiment or experience the world that the directors had created. On October 24th, 1997, they head to Maryland's Seneca Creek State Park and over 8 days filmed this movie. There's this super cool dude named Greg Hale, who is a former military. He used to serve in the Army. He's been through boot camp and stuff like that. He has the actors, go through a survival crash course, and he teaches them how to use a GPS. Did you see any of this? See any of this, like the reason for the GPS stuff?
Mm-mm.
So
should I have?
Why he used this GPS is no, it doesn't matter. But anyways, because I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay, I figured.
You're all good.
Why
we
are you putting me
didn't
on the
talk
spot
about
right
this.
now, dude?
I didn't mean to.
It's not part of the fucking movie, dude.
We'll cut it.
Don't have to cut it, dude.
So the GPS would be integral in shooting the movie. What happened is that Greg would bury these large 16 millimeter film canisters in the woods, and inside those film canisters he would have food. They wouldn't put the water in there, they just put the water next to it, but it would also have their directions and instructions for like the scenes that they needed to shoot. They each had their own canister, so it wasn't like in one canister we have Heather, Mike, and they all just like kind of go through what their scenes are and how they're going to act and what their inspirations are and things like that. Using these, or other than these instructions, there was minimal interaction with the directors, Sanchez and Myrick, and Josh, Mike, and Heather. The film canisters pretty much served as the only way that they communicated through most of the entire movie.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Literally, they just had this dude that I should have known of, apparently, went and buried canisters, and that was how they knew what they were supposed to talk about?
Yeah.
Or
so
like
what would happen is that...
That's pretty smart.
So yeah, what he would do is he would set up these GPS pings. So they'd show up on, midway through day one. They get to where the film canisters are, and it says, hey, these are the shots we need, like in one canister. And then Heather has a canister and it's labeled Heather. Mike has his own canister. Josh has his own canister. And sometimes like Heather has more food in her canister and Josh has less. these like kind of weird psychological games that they also played with them, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. But what they would do is then after that, so once they got to there, they'd have this GPS, and Greg Hale, this producer of the movie that helped out the directors, would just send them another ping, and then they would take that GPS and they'd go to the next location of where the next film canisters were pretty much buried.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like there was almost no interaction with the directors and the actors. They put a ton of trust into the actors. It's crazy that like the actors themselves don't get as much credit, that Sanchez and Myrick get a ton of credit for this movie, because they pretty much wrote a script and then had these like kids follow around some GPS coordinates through the woods, and then they made a movie about what they recorded. They had like minimal direction towards them. So yeah, they had to put a ton of trust in the actors to not only be able to give the right performances, but also to be able to capture everything that needed to be filmed for those. You know, they every now and then they would have them bury leave the film behind so that they could go and review it the next, like, you know, the directors could go back and review it. And there was literally one time in the whole movie that they had to go back and reshoot a scene. But other than that was it. Dude, there's a ghost behind you.
Oh, it's just Avery. She's going pee.
Oh, okay.
Avery's not a ghost.
Speaking of which, there's like a super interesting fact is that in one of the scenes, you know, the one where like they're sleeping and then all of a sudden like the tents are being shaken and everyone's freaking the fuck out, and Mike and Heather specifically, it's the night that Josh goes missing, and Mike and Heather are like running through the woods. In that scene, one of the directors is actually running alongside of them, and he's wearing like this like full white long john suit with a pair of like white long johns over his head as well, and like the legs are flapping behind his head. It's super funny to hear the description of it, because he just says that he looks absolutely insane, but they never got it on film.
Oh, really? Oh, hey, we're back. Sorry. Dog had to pee. Peter's waiting for me to say that. We had to stop because of that.
Hey, man.
Where were we? I just remember you doing this a lot, and you were telling me a story.
You gotta go. Yeah. I was just talking about how,
Dog's pissed.
There was just like a lot of trust that had to go on with the film. Like the actors were the film crew, and like we were talking about how, whatever. One of they missed a whole scene where they were running through the woods, and the director, one of the two directors, is like in the woods with them, running right alongside them. And that's who, when you hear Heather just like freaking out, screaming like, "What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?" She's seeing one of the directors in like all white. From what there's like lots of different reports of what the director was actually wearing, but from what I saw, that was like the most common one is like all white, like long johns from like head to toe. And then he had also put another pair of like legging long johns on his head, so like the legs are just like flapping around behind him, and she's like totally freaking out. And they literally never, like, they missed the shot, and they just never went back and shot it. And it's just like, I know that it's a bummer to like not be able to see the witch, but at the same time, that's kind of what the movie sort of thrives on, is that like there's something.
So the director's full plan was to be the witch and dress up like in long johns. Okay, and that's why
they wanted to scare them, and they wanted to like
freaks out though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like they have them, but they missed the like one part that you're actually supposed to see the witch in the whole movie. So you never even see the witch once. There's one part you're supposed to see him, and they missed the shot. Yeah, no, it's super cool. It adds like a whole like mystery, because like it kind of, I feel like, not that it actually does to a certain extent, but it can ruin a movie if you see what the monster is and the monster's super lame. Right? If it's like, oh, well, that's not really that scary, but if you don't,
last time.
Yeah. Like if you don't know what the monster is, it's just some thing that's out in the woods that's controlling you and fucking with your space and fucking with your time. Like it can be whatever the viewer's mind is perceiving it as, or like wants to imagine it as, which I think is like just as good as showing you a really scary monster, if not even better, because you like, you know, you get to project your inner fears onto the movie and be like, yep, it was something like this. So yeah, along with that, so Heather had no dialogue written for her. Even in the graveyard, when she's like doing her whole monologue that's like super cheesy and like really like 90s goth girl. She wrote that whole thing. She spent like a bunch of time studying symbology and the occult and witchcraft or Wicca, so that like she sounded like her character needed to be. And it's because of like the way that Heather plays her character. She does such a good job of it as this like super annoying, like try hard theater nerd who's like filming a documentary about a witch. And that's like, I think it's what gives like, it's the reason why people hate the movie, but it also is the reason why the movie was so good, is because like she is annoying as shit at times, but it gives like an air of authenticity, not just to her character, but also to the movie. Like, God, this person is so annoying, but it's like exactly what you'd expect. Someone that's like trying over the top to be like a movie director.
Yeah. I also thought it was weird they didn't really know each other, or they didn't know the one guy, and then the other two knew each other, but that was about it. Like in the movie, they're like, "All right, here it is. Let's go pick this guy up that we've never met, but he has a camera, and then let's go into the woods and find this Blair Witch." Makes sense now that I know the whole backstory.
Yeah, right. So like, on top of that, this is such a good point that you just brought up, because as the film progresses, they're given less and less food, and they're also being fucked with a lot more. Like woken up at night, like their fucking tents are being rattled. Like it's super fucked up. But like this is like how you get this like super authentic thing. So you mentioned like Heather and Josh know each other, and then Mike is like the third guy. But the thing is that originally Mike was the one that was meant to disappear, but Heather and Josh were like getting increasingly hostile towards each other as they were filming the movie, that they decided mid-shoot, and to like, again, this like shows like how maybe the director thing of like Sanchez and Myrek is like not exactly like the most earned title. They're more like really, really good producers.
Just people that
but
said,
they
hey,
completely just like flipped the script, and they said, "Hey Josh, like you got to get out of here," because like how like bitter they were towards each other. It was getting like past the point of them just like bickering as far as like, you know, characters. They were like actually starting to get on each other's nerves, and they had like, from what I read, like the term taco is what they would say if they needed to reshoot scenes, or like when they would break character, discuss something, and then they'd go back into it again. But like taco is their safe word. And they, by the time that like the 5th day was coming around, like taco was being said all the time, because Josh and Heather were just like, just laying into each other all the time. So on the day that Josh gets pulled from the movie, he dies. His notes tell him to stay awake that night and then wait for them outside of the camping zone. So they have this clearing that they're staying in. He gets up, and he was told if he's seen or noticed by either Heather or Mike, just to tell him that he's just going to piss. As soon as he gets out of the clearing, Sanchez and Myrek and the other guy are there, and they're like, "Hey dude, you're dead, time to go." And Josh was pretty pumped about this, because he got to go to a dinner at Denny's. Yeah, like literally like rips, no dude. Fucking money at all. They took him to a dope ass movie, to a dope dinner at Denny's, and the next night he had tickets for Juana's audition. Here we go.
Tickets to what are you saying
know that-
right now?
Jane's Addiction.
Oh,
he had tickets to go see Jane's Addiction.
Saw Jane's Addiction. You said Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, while the rest.
All right.
No, you know what? Like the beginning of that song, it's like it says something, and then it says Juana's Audition,
No.
which is Spanish for Jane's Addiction.
Okay. Cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. Anyways, it was a real fun break we had there.
I missed your mark, sir. Guess I didn't listen to that much Spanish Jane's Addiction or that song.
It's not. No, it's just the intro.
But I appreciate.
Cue it. We'll put that in the B-roll. We'll put it in the B-roll. It'll start right now.
I'm not doing any B-roll for this because it's gonna be too long, and I promise you. That was my reel. That was my agree-all. All right, where were we?
All right.
Keep going. You've got this. I believe
so-
in you. Sorry, I interrupted.
The actors claimed that like throughout the shoot they were like legitimately terrified, and the whole ordeal like legitimately scared them because they didn't know the whole time what was real and what wasn't. During the interviews that take place in like the town with the like strange town folks, there were some plants from like actors that they had hired to play people, and some were not. The two I think most crazy interviews are people that they just like kind of like, hey, we're making this movie about this, can you just like give us a little bit of like story about this or that? And the one is like the lady who's with her little daughter, and the little daughter is just like legitimately like, Mom, stop, like she's like telling them like the story of like the Blair Witch and stuff like that, and how like the kids went out there and stuff. And so that was not a plant. That was just some random lady that they had found in a diner, and they asked if they could interview her, and they gave her kind of like, this is what the story is. Can you give us anything along these lines? And she's like, sure, no problem. And didn't even realize that she was like in this soon to be blockbuster movie, or like afterwards blockbuster movie, until her friend called her and was like, hey, I just saw the movie you were in. And she's like, where? She's like, oh, like at like the biggest movie theater in town. You and your daughter are in it.
Do they have to sign the rights off, I assume? Or?
I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, I know that I'm sure she signed something and just like never, because she's like, she remembers saying like, oh yeah, I just like, they were like some like poor looking college kids, so I wanted to help them out with their film project.
That's nice of her though.
Yeah. And then the other dude who's like crazy is the guy who tells about like the kids all being taken into the basement and facing into the corner while he killed one because he didn't want the other kid to watch him kill another, like to kill the child. That was not scripted, and he was not a plant. It was just like some crazy dude that like had some wild story, and they went back and rewrote the ending because of his like crazy story that he told them. Like unscripted,
Really?
not a plant, just some random guy that they found that was like, oh yeah, look, and I remember, yeah, he had the kids in the basement. He'd make one stare into the corner and not look at him while he killed one because he didn't want him, like he could feel their eyes watching him while he killed him. Wow. This is just some random dude that they found.
That's awesome. Just a crazy person on the street.
The one that was like obviously a plant is like the super old dude that has like the people that are like literally doing like the big world building are definitely the plants, and you can kind of tell those people. But it's really funny like knowing that some of the craziest interviews were the people that were like not supposed to be giving the crazy interviews. They were just supposed to be random people that like were like, I don't really know a whole lot about this, but I heard that this had happened, and they just like literally changed the movie, like especially in the case of that one guy.
Their time to shine, baby.
Exactly.
5 seconds of fame. 5 seconds of fame.
So yeah, going back into it, not until Heather and Mike get to Rustin Parr's cabin are they ever engaged with the directors. But once they get in the house, they literally did like 3 or 4 takes for how to best capture the scene and the chaos that takes place within the house. Mike remembered that his pretty much only instructions were run inside, go upstairs, go all the way downstairs, and then stand in the corner of the basement and don't look. His other instructions were to do it as fast as possible because you need to lose Heather. And so Heather was like legitimately scared because she didn't know what the fuck Mike was doing during this scene. Because like through all of this, like they kind of stay together, and Mike just like gets inside and just starts booking it. And like
that probably scared the
was
shit out of
seriously
me.
scared when she gets back down. Yeah, like he like blows upstairs and then like runs directly by her and like just like get the fuck out of the way. Like, and then she finally gets downstairs. She said the first time they shot the ending scene was like legitimately terrifying because Mike is like not doing what he normally does for the movie, or none of the characters do, where they're kind of like working together. He's like hauling ass and like being fucking weird. And then she gets down in the basement and she like finds Mike with her camera. And then pretty much they're like, drop the camera once you find Mike.
Wow.
Yep.
That was how they wanted to end it.
After finishing the movie, the actors and directors went to a nice dinner at Denny's.
Damn it. Grand slams.
You were talking about it earlier, dude.
Yeah. Dude, don't knock it till you try it, dude. It's actually Denny's kind of is pretty expensive now. But it used to be.
Yeah, but this was 99, dude. You could get a Grand Slam for like $5 probably.
Probably less than that, dude. Damn near. You were looking probably $3.99 for fucking a Grand Slam, dude.
Right. After they finished shooting the movie, they rolled back into town. It is October 31st, Halloween, and Heather was like super weirded out. They've spent 8 days in the woods, which is a decent amount of time, with like decreasing amounts of food as they're going through all this
the whole time too.
Super sketchy and being fucked with like literally the whole time. And then they get to Denny's and there's just people running around as like witches and demons all over the Denny's. And she was like, it was one of the scary, like weirdest things I've ever fucking experienced in my life.
Psychological
we were like
warfare.
Haunted by things that we couldn't see, and now we like see the things that we're like supposed to be afraid of, and it's just like a totally weird thing.
That will fuck with you for sure. For sharks, dude.
For sharks. After filming, the group went their separate ways, but they had Myrick and Sanchez had 20 hours, like 20 full hours of good film footage to edit down to an 80-minute movie. This is where it's kind of cool, but the original plan for the movie was to be like Unsolved Mysteries, where like they would have half of the movie be like interviews with parents and news anchors and, you know, the sheriff and stuff like that. Okay. And then they'd find the film and like review it and say, hey, what happened to these children? But like they found that like what Heather, Mike, and Josh had recorded was like by far a good, like a perfect standalone movie.
Wow.
That's cool. The extra footage, however, like all these other things that they did that they were going to actually use in the movie, didn't totally go to waste. It comes back up, and we'll get to that.
Ooh.
Cut to January 1999. We go to Sundance Film Festival. Yeah, that's where this movie
Dio
debuts.
Is coming back, baby.
Yeah. It's where the movie debuts. Salt Lake City. 1999, the directors and other paid people handed out flyers regarding the missing kids. They'd also taken to the internet and hit like specifically message boards talking about how the story of the Blair Witch and how this movie was like the Blair Witch Project is a real like a true story. By the time that it arrived at by the time that they got to Sundance, it was the movie that was like, it was the buzz of the whole thing. The film debuted as a midnight showing on January 23rd, 1999. It had standing ovation following the movie's end, as well as interviews with the directors. Immediately, it was bought by Artisan Entertainment for surprisingly low in this day and age, $1.1 million. And it was definitely like without question the first movie sold at Sundance.
And they put 25,000 into it.
Exactly. And we'll get to how much money this fucking movie made very, very soon. I saw that it was the first horror movie that debuted at Sundance ever. And yeah, the crew was riding super high after the premiere at Sundance. Everyone's talking about this film. It was a huge success. But before we get to its full launch to the mass public, we need to go into what made this movie the actual monster that it became.
Let's hear it.
Artisan Studios took the work that Myrick and Sanchez had done by expanding the world and like making this world of the Blair Witch and then expanding upon that. They created a whole website that detailed like the stories that we talked about earlier with all these characters. And then also they had like legal documents that were like literally police reports that the parents had filed for these missing kids. And also, like I mentioned earlier, they had like these legal documents for Ellie Kedward and Rustin Parr. The previous mentioned interviews were meant to be part of like the movie, but they weren't. But they were interviews with the local sheriff of Burkittsville and his like thoughts on the case and stuff like that. The actors' families and like their fight to like find their, you know, sisters, children, brothers, whatever. As well as like these crazy weird, like they have this whole section that is police reports of like a seance that the families did with like a medium in the area, as well as police being there. And then like her, oh dude, it's totally crazy. It's like all these like, I mean, and there's like pages and pages and like web pages and pages of all these just world building effects. And what they pretty much did is they found how to take the internet by storm and create like the first truly viral marketing program. And that's really what made this. Yeah. In July 30th, 1999, the Blair Witch Project would redefine what it meant to be a summer blockbuster. Shot on a budget of $60,000, including the reshoots that the studio had asked for, the film would gross over $248 million.
You said that like Dr. Evil.
At the time, yeah, won $248 million.
That's a shit ton for only spending 60,000.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, technically, the movie was bought for 1.1 million, but they, you know, made their money 2,450% or whatever. Those are good odds. I'd take that bet for sure.
Those are very good odds. Cheers.
At the time, it was the most successful film in history as far as budget to profit margins are concerned, and it would only be beaten out by other movies that pretty much like inspired it or maybe did their best to kind of copy it. Namely, your favorite movie, Paranormal Activity.
I fucking hate it.
There you go. Yeah, drink up.
You know I know you hate that. I don't understand why you like it. Like I told you,
I like Blair it for Witch the same reason that I kind of like this.
Yeah, but you kind of like Blair Witch. You love Blair Witch. It's like your favorite horror movie.
I love Blair Witch. Yeah. I like Paranormal Activity. I think that it's really good, especially you've only watched the first one. And the mistake that Paranormal Activity made is that they didn't build the world around it. They built the world after. So like if you keep watching the Paranormal Activities, you kind of understand what is actually happening in the first one. Whereas it was kind of flip-flopped. The Blair Witch Project took all of this world and then made the movie out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the big, I mean, like obviously not a mistake. It is the only movie, like, or at least from what I've seen recently, that has like there's new movies now that are like shot on iPhones, and like technology has made making movies surprisingly less expensive.
100%.
But at the time, like, it's the only movie that I could find that was like within the same genre, within the same time, that like beat that beat Blair Witch Project was Paranormal Activity.
I can't believe it. I'm lost for words.
I remember watching Paranormal Activity in the theaters, and it was awesome.
I went to it too, but we smuggled in a whole bottle of vodka. Yeah.
Oh, so you don't really remember it?
No, I don't remember it all. I remember getting hammered.
Yeah.
And like, with the girl that I started dating afterwards, and that's it. And then I had to I rewatched it.
Should have gone to Blair Witch. Should have gone to Blair Witch instead.
Yeah. Well,
it was like 10 years later.
Well, they also they marketed Paranormal Activity to be the scariest movie anyone's ever seen. That was their marketing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like people are missing.
And they did really good marketing with like the found footage thing, and like it was scary. And like I still think like maybe I'm like along the lines of like Sanchez and Myrick, that like these documentary things just feel so much scarier because like
but
there's something you can't quite see.
That whole dialogue of that movie is fucking terrible. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't do better, but it's just like, hey, I'm scared. I want to leave this house. Please turn off that camera. I can't turn off the camera. We're going to see ghosts. Day 2. Please turn off that camera. I can't turn off that camera. We're going to find these ghosts. Hopefully we can get the priest here. A priest ain't going to come. All right. Day 3. Day 3.
I will give you that.
Turn off that camera. I ain't going to turn off this camera. I love you. The priest's going to come. Priest ain't going to come.
Or missing.
Right. Day 5. I'm fucking floating. Bye-bye. Or I'm sleeping outside.
Yeah.
Why are you outside? Because quit filming me. Yeah, it's sorry.
It's the same thing. I mean, like, and it brings me to like my last kind of point is that like the impact of the Blair Witch Project was so massive because it like brought back life into, like, we talked about this earlier, like a dying genre where you have like Jason X. They've made 10 of the same fucking movies. Right? And like, granted, there's different ways you kill people, but it's like the same fucking movie every time.
Yeah, but
I know, but like
don't fix
at this time when this is being made, yeah, but like it gets stale eventually, and like also, no offense to any of these other found footage movies that have come after it, but like you got to keep those fresh. And like you're right, Paranormal Activity is not a fresh redo on the Blair Witch Project. It's the same thing.
Tell,
it's like you
all
can't
the things...
turn the movie off. Like you can't turn the film off. You have to keep recording because you have to get to the truth. And like they do the same exact thing that they did in the Blair Witch Project.
They literally tell them to not, like, they don't give them a script or anything, and they're like, just like, hey, make this movie. They leave. I feel like the difference to me is like how smart Blair Witch was by like burying canisters and putting them out in the woods and making them open them up and be like, all right, you're doing this now, and then like not telling them that they're gonna fuck with them, or like, and like freaking them out psychologically. Where I feel like Paranormal Activity, they're like, all right, say this, and that's it.
Exactly.
So that,
well, like, and I have never like heard of another movie that does it the way that Blair Witch did it, where like they're like, yep, like you're not gonna see us, we'll see you, and if we need to have things reshot, we'll come let you know, but for the most part, you're not gonna see us. This guy Greg Hale was just like digging them little foxholes that they were like literally hiding in like 30-40 feet away from them, and they had no idea they were ever there. Like,
it's fucking scary.
They did this movie in such a crazy, also super scary to just like not know that someone's right there, and just like know that you're being watched, but not knowing where they are. Granted, they might not have known that there was like they know that there's not a witch out there, but they don't know where the people that are watching them, and being watched is also like super weird and scary, especially for 8 days straight.
Right? That would fuck with anyone. Should we do that? Should we just go get lost in the woods for 8 days and see if we can make a movie and have someone follow us around and freak us out?
Yeah, probably. Who's gonna do it?
I don't know. I don't think I could take that time off.
Tom?
He might.
I need to put in some time off stuff.
Put some requests in. Sorry, I gotta get scared out in the woods of Massachusetts.
Hey, I
All
need to
right.
get covered. I'm gonna go try to get scared in the woods by my friends. I'm gonna see if they can scare me or not.
I've been scared in the woods before. It happens.
Anyways, to end the whole thing, I'm just gonna go. This movie will go on to pretty much birth the entire found footage genre to what it is nowadays, and also I think it did a really good job of reigniting like the public's fascination with the supernatural, the occult, the unknown, the scary, the dark. I think like
I agree.
in the early 2000s, like it just like it became something that like it brought back to life like a fascination with all of these dark things.
I guess I was just 14. I don't remember. I just wanted to say in the year 2000. You might be too for Conan O'Brien. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know that, but I'm gonna do this anyways. Did he do this?
No. It's a funny sketch.
Okay.
All right, they brought back horror. They're bringing horror back. Everybody knows
we're bringing
where
horror
it at.
back. Yep.
So they brought back horrors. Heard.
Yep. But anyways, that's the end of our main event.
All right. So from
You're
there,
welcome for making it so short.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it so much, please go ahead and subscribe. You know where to find us. Hopefully, if not, I'm going to put it right there.
Right there. Yeah, nice.
In closing, do we have any homework, or is there anything that we need to do or research, or anything you want to talk about?
I would like a
next
refresh
week?
on the homework you gave me earlier. It's called my dad David or something.
My dad David. Yeah, look that up. No, Truth About Jim.
No, what is it called? Truth About
It's
Jim.
called
Okay.
Truth About Jim. Don't look up My Dad David. Yeah, I didn't say you had to watch it, but I think you should. It's entertaining. It's true crime.
No, I'm definitely gonna watch that. I'm like super excited.
I also kind of or really want to watch there's a horror movie out about the woods, which is just like Blair Witch, but it's called, I think I sent it to you on the Instagram like a month or so ago, and it's like a lovely dark
when is that
or
come out?
something. It's out, dude. It came out
Lovely
last
Dark
week.
and Deep or something like that.
Yeah, that's it exactly. It's straight to streaming, baby. How I like it. So it's like $6 on Apple. I would like to watch that.
Okay.
And talk about it. We already talked about subscribing to all of our things. YouTube, Instagram.
I've got one for you.
Maybe TikTok. Ooh, he's got something for me. What is it?
Have you seen Lover, Stalker, Killer yet?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, the BBC thing on Netflix. My
BBC,
Lover, My Stalker, My Killer.
By the BBC?
I'm pretty sure it's British, right?
I don't know.
No, I'm thinking My Lover, My Killer. Lover, Stalker, Killer.
Yeah, something different.
What's it on?
Yep. Netflix.
Lover, Stalker, Killer on Netflix. Okay.
Yep. It's a documentary film. Totally insane true crime story. I think it's worth we'll deep dive into it next time because it's nuts.
Okay.
The story that happens in this. I mean, I think it's like maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. It's crazy.
Well, I think what's next week's episode? What are we going to talk about? Peter? Or next episode. I guess it probably won't be next week. But what's our next episode, Pete? Mr. Writer?
Let me look it up real quick.
You're
'cause
stalling, dude. I know what it is.
Tell me.
We're going to talk about True Detective Season 4.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You're
that
right.
was what it was. I know I'm right.
I thought
God
we
damn,
were.
I know I'm right.
I thought we were getting to the other one that we were going to talk about.
No.
That we've kind of talked about. That I'm like already kind of doing some research on. But that one's
but then we
later,
decided
folks. I literally can't mention it, or else I'll get sued.
Yeah, you talked about wanting a break from doing all this writing, and you wanted to just sit there, get drunk, and talk about something we already watched. So we're gonna sit there, get drunk, do no
I really
edits,
like it.
and we're gonna talk about True Detective Season 4. So
Is this one gonna be? Yeah, I like it.
let's do the Scooby Doo ending.
We'll have.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.